Hi Lisa. Thanks for all. Love your random spontaneous expression, very funny. There's a question about surrendering your ego. Each time I notice a thinking process, I know that it's ego. I'm not sure. And even the one who's seeing is the ego too. So I surrender myself to some greater power that my ego, I believe, exists. And I find peace in that for some time until the one who thinks comes back. And the process goes again and again. But the peace is great. Do you see it as effective or just a waste of time playing games with yourself? I think on the human level, it's really beneficial to do this. Yeah, so the more peaceful the person gets, the less seeking there is. So in a way, you could say it's not the more connection, but there's more space. You could imagine it a bit like clouds in a sky, like when there's a big storm and it's really like thick, dense clouds, you can't see the blue sky or the sunlight. And you can imagine that storm like the person and being really identified with the person. And then as it thins out, then you can see the blue sky and the sunlight. But that often makes the person think then it's me that does it. I need to thin myself out. But everything that you do is a happening, isn't a separate entity doing. So all your actions that you do is beyond you. You never did a thing. You are an appearance happening, and then there's this ego that's claiming it. And to me, waking up isn't about stopping thinking. It is so complex, all this subject, and I don't have all the answers to it. Like I don't know, like if further down the line, you know, when I'm in my 60s, if I'll be able to answer all these things like through time. But it's, to me, there is still some form of character that needs to remain and thinking that needs to remain. Otherwise you'd become like I don't know what the right word is, like having special needs. You wouldn't be able to function in this world. And in the beginning I used to find this hard to talk about because I used to say there is no self, which is true. There is no self here, there is no solid self here and there. But there is an appearance of a self, and I kind of missed that for a bit in the beginning of saying that. I didn't really realize, because it's so complex to talk about, and you're so conditioned by the non-dual language and the non-dual community and the teachers you've come from, and it took a while for me to kind of find my own way to speak about it. So to me, there is a character here, and there is thinking that happens, there is emotions that happen, there is contractions in the body that happen, there is discomfort, there is joy, there is happiness, there is evolution, there is change, there is all variety of things happening in that character. But it's not a solid entity, it's something that's always coming and going, and it's not the experiencer, it is an experience. And to me, that's the shift that I'm talking about, and that might be different to what other teachers are talking about. I'm talking about this shift from being this person to this energetic shift where there's this waking up and this connection to what you truly are, which is no thing appearing as everything. This empty looking that is everything, that is all things, and this sense of existence is all things. And it's an energetic shift, but still there is appearance of a character. But when you have that shift, like the reason that it gets really confusing with language, and like in the beginning I feel like I was really unclear in certain areas because I didn't understand it myself, because it's not an intellectual understanding of this. And it's something that speaking about it has helped me teach myself. So, because what's experiencing now is not a person. There isn't a person here experiencing, there is this consciousness experiencing. So you could say there is no self that's experiencing, but there is the appearance of a character. So there is a character Lisa that likes some things over other things, that can have these emotional reactions. And before, what used to happen was that character and the consciousness were attached together, so it felt like Lisa was experiencing, and Lisa felt like a certain size, and then that separated out. But the character still thinks, the character still has emotional reactions, the character can still have stories, the character can still have old seeking patterns. So some teachers teach differently, and some teachers say there is a self and there isn't a self. There's an appearance of me and there isn't an appearance of me. And My way, which I've become comfortable with over the years, is sort of saying there's an appearance of a self. Because when I had that awakening, there was times where I had complete disidentification with everything, and it just is love, and I didn't know who I was or what I was, and I didn't care, and it was just total love. But it feels like it feels impossible that could function through a body. Like, to me, it seems that there has to be some form of identification with a body, with a character. There has to be some like continuous, like something that like grounds you to this earth in a way. And I don't know what other teachers are necessarily talking about. We might be talking about different things, or we might be talking about same things, or it might be some teachers are more advanced than me, or some teachers are less advanced than me, even though that's really ridiculous, but just in the sense of their experiences, so they teach differently. And so what I'm trying to get to for you through all this long explanation is that, like, don't look for it being the end of thinking or being peaceful on the human level, even though what you're doing is really wise, and I still attempt and strive on the human level to integrate and balance Lisa, you know, when she has unbalanced ideas or views. So you do that on the human level, but don't look to that for enlightenment. Enlightenment is beyond anything human. Enlightenment's what's always been there, no matter how screwed up or how peaceful you are. Enlightenment isn't about you becoming nice or kind or not thinking. That's all on the human level, and there can be effects that happen in the human, but what's being talked about is beyond being human. It's this watching that isn't identified with anything. It's just watching. It's so beautiful. And even that's confusing, everything I say, because there's another part of me that can see that, like, even though I say there has to be some form of identification, there's another part that can see in this experience there is no form of identification. I try my best to speak about this subject. But just don't get too hung up on this thinking or not thinking, or this being ego or not being ego. Everything that appears in this life is a thing, so obviously can't be it. But don't get caught up on what you have to be.